hearts and homes, volunteers, families, firemen, police officers, medical personnel, local and national government institutions, NGOs and many others. Over 180,000 tons of humanitarian aid has been delivered to Ukraine via Poland. Similar efforts were made from many other countries, especially in Central Europe and among Scandinavian countries. I want to thank each and every person that helps Ukraine and Ukrainian refugees. And I want to thank all the governments, institutions and organizations for organizing support. But the strongest gratitude we owe to Ukraine and Ukrainian people. Dear Ukrainian sisters and brothers, dear President Zelensky, dear Prime Minister Michel, dear Denis, we know very well that today you are not only fighting for your homeland, independence and freedom, but also for ours. We will continue to support you in every possible way, and you will win this war. We will win together. Together we will demonstrate that European values are not empty words, but that they are backed with action. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for coming here in person, and thank you for all your efforts which you are doing for Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. I would like now to hand over to the other co-host, Prime Minister of Sweden. Your Excellency, please.
Thank you, and Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and first of all, thank you very much to my colleague Mateusz Morawiecki for co-hosting this conference and the good cooperation we've had to organize this conference. And we gather here today in solidarity with the people of Ukraine, a people that is
dass die Europäer an der Seite der Ukraine stehen und ihre Bemühungen, die russische Invasion
We are very grateful that you are here with us today and that President Zelensky will join us virtually. And just as my colleague said, Ukraine will win this war and we will stand by your side. Today we manifest our collective solidarity with the people of Ukraine, and I'm pleased to co-host this conference with my colleague. And I'm very happy that together we're able to take this important initiative. And I also want to thank the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, and the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, for being here today, but also for their leadership in managing the consequences of this war and for being our partners in this conference. I also would like to acknowledge the key role of the United Nations, represented through the Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Martin Griffiths. And Ukraine is in dire need of humanitarian and financial support, as well as military equipment. And today, at this session, we will focus on the urgent need to mobilize funding for the humanitarian response in Ukraine. And the revised UN appeal amounts to $2.22 billion US. Sweden will today provide an additional $23 million US to support humanitarian actors in Ukraine. In this context, I would also like to express my admiration for our co-host in Poland and the Polish people for their extraordinary solidarity with millions of Ukrainians who have fled their homes, and also the leading role that you have taken in supporting Ukraine in different perspectives. Since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, international partners have worked hard to expand their operations. Much has been achieved, but much work remains, and the humanitarian system needs our continued support. And here the UN plays an essential role in coordinating the humanitarian response. And I would like to pay tribute to all those who tirelessly work to deliver life-saving assistance in very challenging conditions and environments. The war is far from over, but we must prepare for when it is, so we need to look beyond the immediate humanitarian support and lay the groundwork for the recovery of Ukraine. Life-saving assistance must be coupled with efforts to safeguard a brighter future for the Ukrainian people, creating a bridge between the urgent humanitarian operations and the long-term solutions for Ukraine. And together with the Ukrainian government, we need to find ways to support and strengthen the resilience of the Ukrainian society. And today will be an opportunity for us to discuss how the international community can help address Ukraine's current economic challenges created by the war and present concrete financing solutions. And while we meet here in solidarity, we cannot forget the fundamental issue. Russia must end its aggression against Ukraine. There is an easy solution. They could just stop the war and go back home. International law must be respected, and we will work to bring the responsible for the Russian crimes in Ukraine to justice. And let me end here where I started, with Ilya from Odessa and the millions of Ukrainians in need of support. With today's conference, we are sending a clear signal that we continue to stand with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister Anderson. And I would like to bring in from Kiev President Zelensky live. President, please, welcome. We are very happy to receive us here at that conference. President, you have the floor.
Dear ladies and gentlemen,
full-scale Russian war against Ukraine. Our meeting in this format and with such an objective proves that Ukraine, Europe and the whole world are on the way to our joint victory. Our country retains full functionality. Our continent is united. Millions and millions of people around the world support us so that the tyranny would lose. The armed forces of Ukraine and all of our heroic defenders bravely and firmly defend our freedom on the battlefield. But how this brutal war will end is decided not only on the battlefield. There's also the economy and finance, humanitarian support, and the ability to ensure normal life on liberated territories and rebuilding what was destroyed by the Russian army. Freedom must demonstrate that it protects and provides the people better than tyranny, which for decades has enjoyed a massive flow of money for oil, gas and other raw material sales. That's how freedom wins. That is why this conference is so important for everyone in Europe, both strategically and tactically. First, we need sufficient financial resources so that Ukrainian men and women would be provided with everything they need while the war continues. The Ukrainian state, as the manager of these funds, will cover all urgent needs, both defensive, social and humanitarian. Second, we are already preparing a large-scale recovery and rebuilding plan for Ukraine after the war, and we need a strategic international support plan for Ukraine that will be a modern analog of the historic Marshall Plan. It is money, technology, professionals and growth opportunities which are required to return to a safe life modernization and social development. This will be an investment in the stability of the whole of Central and Eastern Europe, so the aggressor would know that he will not break the power of Europe and all three nations. Everything destroyed by the war would be rebuilt. The restoration of Ukraine must now become the same historical example for our time and future as the restoration of European countries after the Second World War. And such free world investments, should they be quick and sufficient, will mean that millions of Ukrainians who have been displaced by the war would be able to return home. We offer our partners, the civilized and responsible countries, to take patronage over those regions, cities and industries of Ukraine that have suffered from the war unleashed by Russia, to assume patronage so as to work with us to ensure the full recovery of these regions, cities and industries. Such a patronage project can create a new and equally historic example of interaction and partnership between the states of the free world, between regions, cities and companies of Europe and democratic states. Third, Ukraine needs to move quickly to the European Union by acquiring the candidacy status, which must be granted right now under conditions of war and according to special shortened procedure, that is, to gain this EU membership. This war of Russia against Ukraine was planned as a preparation for striking a blow against the united Europe. So more unification would be a powerful response to all that. That is why Ukraine's membership in the European Union must be an absolute reality, not just promises or prospects, but practical steps. I know we are ready for these steps, and you know it too. I'm sure that most of you clearly understand this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm grateful to Poland and Sweden, to Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki and Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson for hosting this high-level donor conference this year. I'm grateful to the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, and to the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, for their leadership that makes Europe a true defender of freedom. I'm grateful to all the participants of the conference for being with us in this war for a free and democratic life for millions of people, not only for Ukraine, but for all of us who may be threatened by tyranny. I believe that Europe will show its strengths today. You will show your strengths, including the strengths of international institutions, UN institutions, whose representatives are present with us now and can be more effective, because this is for our common freedom. Thank you for attention. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you very much, President Zelensky. And now I would like to give the floor to the Prime Minister of Ukraine. You have the floor, Your Excellencies.
Thank you. The Mr. Prime Minister of Poland, the Mateusz, the Prime Minister of Sweden, the Magdalena, the Mr. President of the European Council, the Madam President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. Dear colleagues, there is war in Ukraine. Our losses in terms of infrastructure, economy, people are extremely high. We got more than $600 million of direct losses. More than 5 million of Ukrainians are forced to flee their homes and go abroad. More than 12 million of Ukrainians have been displaced. A third of Ukrainian business has stopped. We are now in the European Union, in Poland. So let me tell you this. Ukrainian army is fighting now. Wyje Boga za nasza I wasza wola.